Welcome back to a new video. So I went through a bit of an ordeal to get my game working again. So I tried to turn it on, it was crashing, having all kinds of issues. So what actually finally got it to work, there is one common thing where you go to app data on your computer and delete those files and go back in. That originally did not work, but I went through the ransomware part of my computer to allow the app, in this case, the game, to go through, and then did the app data deleting thing, and then it opened back up. And thankfully, as my game was having issues crashing, my files didn't disappear, so I saved this file. I thought I was going to have to reset and lose the progress I made on this one, which would have not been good. But we're going to go and hammer on through. So as far as my recollection, we have finished one season. I'm going to double check that right here. We'll go to history. So yeah, that was our first season. Obviously the last one is the regular White Sox season. So we overperformed by quite a bit. So we're gonna push forward a little bit, and then we're gonna see if there's anyone that's good out of the country that we could try to sign. No one that is really, like a relief pitcher, but that's not really worth the effort to try to get. And then there's no one that's really gonna move the needle necessarily. Josh Naylor, it's funny that he is a free agent. He was actually traded to, or it looks like traded to, the New York Mets, which is interesting because at least in real life, I don't imagine that he would be traded to there. But we're going to keep hammering through and see how far we can make it into the season. We definitely have some good pieces to build upon. I don't know if next season will be better or not. That's a 24-year-old half-star prospect, and they want a right-handed pitcher from us. We definitely need to get some pitching. We traded Garrett Crochet last year and it ended up honestly kind of working out pretty well. We'll look here to see if there's anyone. So 3-star, 2-star for a 3-star, and they want money. So nope. So we have some people, and I'm going to double check the player developments and make sure the development lab. So, yeah, so we have all of that there. I forget whether I have that set to be, yeah, so that's where I have the development lab to be 20 people, but I have it managed by the assistant GM. So it's not necessarily, I don't think it's really a busted thing for me to run myself, because it doesn't necessarily work a lot, but it does work at times. And for at least changing positions, I think that's where I would ever control it, just because that's kind of, honestly, in real life, like, it'd be pretty easy to change the position of like an outfielder. It's kind of weird how like Steven Kwan is not as good in center field. Like I get it in some sense, but it wouldn't be that like he would lose potential or stars if you put him in center field. I think someone like that would be fine. Like outfielders moving around. These guys are professional athletes, so them changing a position, especially one from like a position in the outfield, is not too crazy. I would understand it for like if you're an outfielder, Steven Kwan, for use him again as an example, moving him to like a catcher or pitcher and like that drastically changing him. But just moving him around the outfield, I don't think that should change anything for 99% of players. But maybe there's some defense or something that's related to that. So the winter meetings are beginning. So what we want to do now is we can look at our lineup. Now our lineup ended up being pretty decent last year. So we had our worst hitter down here, the 226, so that wasn't too good. 221, so it's like we had some guys that were pretty bad at hitting. Catcher, okay at hitting. Jonathan Rodriguez is kind of an interesting guy, but Kyler Manzardo kind of popped off, 121 RBIs, only a 258 batting average. But and then same with Colson Montgomery. He's going to be our best player. And then having Brian Ramos, he did well as Steven Kwan. So we do have some interesting people. Let's actually see if they change anything. So they don't change anything with our roster right there. So if we're looking at our roster, we have left field, first base, third base. Brian Ramos could potentially play third base. Colson could potentially play shortstop. We do have Angel Martinez. He's a bit of a utility player, so he can literally play everywhere. So that is quite useful. And then we have another utility player that can play everywhere as well. They're at their best position. We have Manzardo that is, or Jonathan Rodriguez that can play in the outfield everywhere. Manzardo can play in the outfield as well a little bit. He's our DH right now. And then third base, Kwan can play everywhere. And Luis Roberts. So we're kind of looking to potentially replace Luis even though he's still $20 million, so nobody's going to want to trade for him this year. So it's going to be kind of difficult to get rid of him, kind of. And we don't really have like a good replacement for him right now. So we're a target and outfielder. I'm decently happy with our infield for the most part. It's not the greatest, so we could potentially be looking for a second baseman, shortstop, or a third baseman, and then we can kind of move Colson and Angel around. They seem like pretty good stable pieces to have there. So basically middle infielders. John Kinsey Noel can play a little bit of third base as well. So he is someone that we could potentially plop in to, say, third base. Let's see if we can do that right here and just kind of play around with that. So Angel then would go to second, and then we would put John Kinsey Noel here at third, and then move him to replace him for third, Angel at second, and Colson at shortstop, which seems like a pretty interesting lineup. You know, the 2.5 star, good power, so someone that could be interesting to have in there. So I think that does strengthen our lineup a little bit. If we look at the pitching that we had, that certainly overperformed last year quite a bit. But we do have a lot of good pitchers. Could always look for more pitching. It's never going to hurt to find some more arms that could be beneficial for us to find, especially because we don't really have anyone that's really popping off in AAA that we're really excited to bring up. Definitely people that we could potentially bring up, like this Jonathan Cannon, which we'll just go ahead and throw him in the majors right now just to see what that looks like as far as our lineup goes. And so that kind of gives us another person that's there. So what we need to look at is a trading block to see if there's anyone that's interesting that we could potentially trade for. So we don't really want an older bullpen arms. We still want to try to stay young. That's going to be kind of the big key for us. So some like Trevor Rogers, unless he's really expensive, seems like someone that could be interesting. But we could also look at free agents to see if there's anyone. So pitching, middle infield, kind of stuff like that. Let's sort by potential. So obviously we have, well, really bad players. Let's give it a second to load up there. So we have someone like Marcell Ozuna, but he's too old. He doesn't really fill a position in the outfield. Someone like Devin Williams, not too bad, obviously, but really expensive. And we have guys that are just really expensive to sign. But then we have someone like this Jose Alvarado that would be pretty decent at $5 million a year, but he is 30 years old. So there's no one that's really like popping off as far as someone that we're like, we really got to have this person to really make a difference on our team, especially as far as relief pitchers go, because if we look here, they're just way too expensive. For the most part, Alvarado is not too expensive, but they're just honestly, they're too old for us to really be interested in. So we'll go ahead and double check the trading block. I just looked at it, but just to refresh my brain to see if there's anyone. So it's like these guys are just too old to be able to try to get. I mean, 31-32 is not bad, but for a 3-star, not really that interested in because they drop down. Like we have enough people that are 2.5 stars to potentially find. So they really want our pitcher here, and there's just not enough value for him because we just, I mean, we need pitching. So they're going to keep trying to get him. And what I like to do in these situations, so like this Charles McAdoo guy is pretty interesting. So what we'll do is actually discuss the trade. We obviously take him off because we don't want to get rid of him. Then we'll look at this player because he's actually pretty interesting to us, and then see if there's anyone that they are interested in taking. I'll drink some more of our coffee. So that 2-star that I saw up there, he's pretty interesting. Honestly, this guy would be a decent, he's 6'7" though. That guy's an actual giant. I don't know why he's so big. But we have Phil Fox here, 1.5 star, 2-star potential. He was in the instructional league, Dominican instructional league, I think. I don't know what the DSL is. I know it's an instructional league. But then we also have a 2-star shortstop that we could potentially trade. But I think trading relief pitchers for position players is usually a good trade for us. And he did well in looks like AA last year. So certainly is a trade that we could look at. And then we can look to see if there's someone like crazy like this that we could throw in. Obviously, they're not going to probably want anyone for someone like that, but it can't hurt to ask to see if there's something that we could ask for that. So someone like him, Probably do not want to trade him, but you never know. You can't hurt to ask. So they'd want Coulson. Montgomery honestly would be a pretty fair trade, but we don't want to trade Coulson because he fills that shortstop position for us. Connor Cook would be an interesting player. So he's a 3-star. His contract is cheap, only for a year, which means that he'd probably go into arbitration. So then if we're looking at who they'd want, they just want too much for him. Of course, we definitely want to keep our, even though he kind of struggled, he just has too much potential, and then too much potential with our quarterback with our starting pitcher, and he doesn't have enough stamina to be a starting pitcher. So then we can look down to see if there's anyone else while we are looking at their roster that is interesting to us as far as taking. So Nick Robertson would be an interesting. Oh, they just want to give us him. We don't even have to. So that's what's interesting too. Sometimes you throw this on there and they'll just accept, especially relief pitchers for some reason. So we can look at someone like this. He's only a 2-star. He's 24 with decent potential. And we like someone like this TJ Brock. So we can just get 2 relief pitchers that are pretty good. And then we can look at him. So he has second, third base, and shortstop. So that is a very interesting player for us. And then here they're going to want something more. Coulson, of course, that makes sense. But honestly, with the way that this trade is right now, I kind of like where it is at. Let's see if we can throw in another player. They're just giving us all these relief pitchers. So I guess that is kind of a nice thing. So we're just going to go ahead and complete this trade. I think this is kind of a busted trade, certainly. I like your proposal. I don't know why they like it, but we will certainly accept it. They must really like Phil Fox for whatever reason, but we'll go ahead and figure out how to get these players on our main roster. So then we will take these 3 players and just go ahead and wave and designate. Where's Robinson? We'll throw him over there. So it's actually quite interesting. So we actually helped our pitching out quite a bit with that trade for the current year. So our bullpen should be pretty decent now. And then we have our better starting lineup. So kind of interesting with that. We'll keep moving forward a little bit. Oblique strain. Not sure why he's getting an oblique strain in the off season, but that's all right. Interesting stuff here. So far, I would say a pretty productive off season for us. I certainly don't think we are in the running to potentially compete or anything this next upcoming season, but we are setting ourselves up for hopeful success, and we have a closer that we can bring up to potentially even fill even more slots, which we definitely want to see. So we are going to fix our screen setup, because that's one of the things when I reset had to reinstall essentially this game. It reset all of the settings that we had. So we're going to go here and have them realign our minor leagues here. And then we're going to leave that as the ACL. And then I don't know why they want us to bring him up, but we'll go ahead and do that. And then the rest they want to stay. And then we'll look here at International Complex. So no one that is ready to go up yet. And everyone else is either there or is kind of an irrelevant prospect that we don't really care about if they are overwhelmed where they are at. All right, so happy with how our minors look. So let's go forward again to see if there's anyone interesting that we are offered. So I actually this seems like a really interesting trade. So Jake Myers, decent hitter, center fielder, could replace our terrible guy in the center field. And they want a 29-year-old 2-star left fielder that we are never going to use. And here, I'm going to certainly discuss this trade because I am certainly interested in that. Let's go to the majors and scroll down. I don't think that they will accept if we throw Luis Roberts Jr. on there. No, I didn't think so. He's by far too expensive for them, as most teams won't just want to take a $20 million contract for a player that's pretty low caliber, such as him. So we have someone like Josh Hader that could be interesting. So he's a bit too old, but I know he's a good pitcher in real life. And then we have some interesting starting pitchers. We could potentially throw one, so they'll just oh, let me make this work. So yeah, so they want too much for him, which makes sense. Usually starting pitchers, they're a bit too expensive with that. Yainer Diaz could be an interesting player. So he's 2.5 stars. Could potentially see if there's someone. So he batted in 33 games, .097, which is pretty horrendous. But he batted really well in the minors, and his eye is pretty good. So it could be interesting to look to potentially swap him out because his contact and everything is a bit better. If you look at our other catcher, Ben Rice, he's a little bit older, but his average was, manageable. It's interesting because they do want him, so we're gonna throw him on there and then see, because then we do get Jake Myers, we do get Yainer Diaz, and then we can see if there's any other potential prospects that we could be interested in trying to pursue from this team. So Igai, look here. So Jose Altuve is, oh, that's the Astros. Okay, I thought this was the Brewers for some reason, which doesn't make any sense why I would think that. And we could potentially see if we can throw Josh Hader on there. So they do actually want to give us Josh Hader, which is honestly pretty interesting because his contract isn't the greatest for us. It's $19 million. So we'll see if we can go back and get them to retain, say, 85%. They would want another prospect. If that was the case, we don't really want to do that. So we'll say 50%. And so they still want another player, which honestly I'm willing to part ways with. So if we look to see who they potentially want, honestly, someone like this Samuel person, it's a decent prospect, but we have enough people in the outfield right now to where he's not really, even if he does develop, he's not really going to develop that much for our team. So we can throw that on, and that saves quite a bit of money. I don't care if this is not a trade that you would make. I kind of like this trade because we're giving up 2 prospects that are pretty irrelevant to us. A good catching prospect, but he batted horrendously in 33 games, and a decent minor league prospect, but he batted pretty bad in the minors, and that upgrades our catching position, our center field position, and it gives us a good relief pitcher while saving a bit of money. So we're going to go ahead and do that there and just continue to hammer forward. Now, I'm feeling good. I haven't played this game in like a week or so because I was just busy with being a teacher and stuff, so I haven't had as much time to try to make videos and stuff. But we're gonna look here. So I think this is last year of his contract. So I know he has 2 years. So we have a buyout. We're going to put these 2 guys, 3, waive and designate for assignments. So then we're gonna throw our players on there and just continue to hammer through. So I definitely feel like that was a couple really good trades for us. Not really anyone interesting. Yeah, so they just want a good pitcher for just crap prospects. Everyone wants Casey Mize. I don't really know why. It's always funny when off seasons happen like this, where there's just always a player that you just always, like, every team just wants for no reason. And I guess, he's not a bad player necessarily. We're just going to go ahead and just release him, pay the 20 minutes contract all at once. We'll just pay that now. He's not good. He's not going to play for us, and we going to have to pay him anyway. So it makes sense that nobody would want to pick that contract up. He might get signed after that, but he's not really that good of a player. We are letting the AI try to sign some of our off-season, the international amateurs. I think that does a decent enough job at that, and I don't really care too much because a lot of those prospects, I don't know. I think it gets enough good prospects like that, so it saves me a little bit of time, simulating a little bit and then checking through these trades and stuff to see, what is available. Continue to hammer through. We'll go to the beginning of I guess February, whatever that is, like the beginning of the off season or whatever, or the end of the off season, and just move forward with that. I don't want to trade players. I'm about to just put him on a no trade list because these trades are just, I'm just gonna put, I mean, I'm not, that's the thing, is like I'm not opposed to trading him, but like for the offers that I'm getting are just comically bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete the messages and then just continue to hammer through. So we have that, and then now we're in the preseason, that's what they call it. So we go have our player development budget, draft budget, their development lab, and then go to our front office. Actually above size market, which is interesting. I play with Cleveland, so we have a below market size budget. Development budget, scouting budget, both pretty high. We have total money available. We're actually bumped this up to 30. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's always funny when it does that. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 to 33. We have to really game the system, so we'll go 40. Okay, looks like 27 is the highest it's letting us. Sometimes it does that and it's kind of bizarre. Development budget, we're gonna put $5 more million in it, see if it does anything really. Might not, but we have the money, total money available, so we're definitely good there. We'll get to about the preseason, and then we'll end the video here. But I'm glad I was able to get the game working. This is very tilted, but that solution seemed to work. And so I guess potentially after updates, it could kind of like default to having that error again. And now at least I know how to at least work through it, at least hopefully be able to work through it. You never know if it will just continue to not work, but deleting those things and making sure the ransomware thing, which kind of makes sense because maybe it had been allowed, but then once my computer updated, he is very old, 39. What's his contract? It's only $3 million. I kind of don't think that's necessarily a bad person to pick up, but do we really need him? That's the thing. Yeah, I mean, like, he's a pretty average pitcher. $3 million is a little bit too much for someone that old and someone we don't really need. So we'll look at the trading block here. So I feel like he was a free agent, so $6 million. We'll look here. He's 31. We'll see what it would take to get him. So it would take a pitching prospect or a really good player. I kind of like the idea of just continuing to improve our bullpen. Someone like Hagen Smith is a good prospect, so we'll add him in, and then we'll look to try to get a prospect back from them of some sort. See if we can get a starting pitching prospect, and then see if there's, so they want too much for him, which makes sense. He's one of their better prospects. Let's find a relief pitcher prospect. Yeah, so they just want another one. I'm not really even opposed to this because it is a pretty good trade. Let's see this, if they retain 80%. So they want another player. If we get that, Blake Larson, let's go to 50%. That seems to be a decent mark. So 60%. 55%, so they will just accept 50%, which I don't think his contract is even that high, so it saves us some money. I mean, anything to save money is also good to do. It's a solid player to pick up for our team, so we'll look at pitching and have him set up our staff. So then we have a solid closer, we have a good two good setup pitchers, and then honestly a pretty good bullpen. So I'm pretty happy with where we stand as of now. So we have first, second, short, or third, short, right, left. So we need a center field, which we do have that person that we just got. So we're going to go ahead and throw him into our lineups there and continue on to next week. So we'll go all the way to the start of the preseason, and then the next video will just be going through the spring training. I guess right now it's preseason. Go to the start of spring training. Very good. All right, so we'll go spring training begins. So we're basically there. So I'm pretty happy with the pieces that we added with some of the development of our players. We're gonna go ahead and go to our managed roster and just have them set up the whole organization so they can get the people set up for spring training. I'm excited to see the potential. So we have, I want to set our lineups here. So we're going to move him to second, him to not being in general, to second, Coulson to short, Coulson to short. And then I kind of like having, I feel like every time I ever try to do like a build of some sort or anything in this game, I always like John Kensington well, but he's always available. He sometimes develops into a really good power hitter, and you just can't go wrong with someone that just is going to have good pop in his bat like that. Even if his average is low, like he has the potential to hit 20 plus home runs. And so it just seems good to be able to do. All right. So we're good here. So that's going to be the end of this video. If you have made it to any of these videos, I do appreciate it. I have been enjoying making them, and so I'll continue to hammer them out. But until next time, have a good one. Peace.